Shadows twist where whispers grow. The edge of light begins to flow. A world unseen through fractured glass, where futures meet the echoes past. Step closer now, the veil is thin. A riddle starts where dreams begin. The experimental medium calls your name. Nothing here will be the same.
You ever get that feeling that what we see, our everyday reality, is just the surface?
Oh, absolutely. Like there's way more going on underneath.
Exactly. Hidden histories, maybe forgotten knowledge, even other dimensions. And today, well, we're diving into someone who didn't just wonder about that stuff. Helena Blavatsky, she went right in.
Blavatsky's story is really something else. I mean, think about it. A woman in the 19th century traveling all over the world, digging into these esoteric traditions that most people in the West either ignored or just flat out rejected.
A constant search for hidden truths.
Yeah. Her life was basically one big quest.
And for this deep dive, you brought some fantastic sources. We got bits from her travelogue, from the caves and jungles of Hindustan.
That's the one. It really paints a picture of her time in India.
And then there's incidents in the life of Madame Blavatsky. It's kind of firsthand accounts of all the weird phenomena around her, right? Though maybe a bit perplexing sometimes.
Definitely perplexing. And you can't talk about Blavatsky without mentioning her huge work, Isis Unveiled.
Right, her magnum opus.
Yeah.
Trying to pull together ancient wisdom and, well, shake things up.
Pretty much.
So our mission today is basically that. Trace her journey, get a handle on her ideas about, like, lost civilizations and how reality is structured.
And how she pushed back against the science and religion of her day.
Yeah, and look at those bizarre phenomena people reported around her, and the key people involved, too. And hopefully we can pull out a really powerful idea from her whole worldview for everyone listening.
Sounds like a plan. So let's start maybe near the beginning. Even after she first came back from the East around 1858, she was actually pretty skeptical of spiritualism, the popular stuff going around then.
Oh, really? I thought she was all about that.
Well, that's what's interesting, because later, in 1871, she starts this society spirit in Cairo. Seems like a contradiction, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. If she was against it, why start a society for it? What changed?
Okay, so her stated reason is key here. She wasn't trying to, get on board with seances and talking to spirits. No. Her idea for the Society Spirit, which was based on Allan Kardec's work, was actually to investigate mediums critically. She famously said she wanted to show people how mistaken they were about it all.
Ah, okay. So it wasn't belief, it was scrutiny. Like a controlled environment to figure out what was really going on, or maybe expose frauds.
Exactly. That distinction is crucial. It wasn't about faith. It was about trying to understand or debunk.
Gotcha. And speaking of weird stuff, that time in Russia, in Pskov, there are stories of objects appearing, music from nowhere, letters answering secret questions turning up in locked boxes.
Yeah, the accounts from Pskov are pretty wild. There's one story about a governess, Leontine. She apparently got a letter in a locked box revealing details about a guy she hoped to marry, stuff she hadn't told anyone.
Wow.
Even Blavatsky's own brother, Leonid, who was apparently quite the skeptic, a university man, even he was reportedly shaken by some of the things he saw.
It sounds like reality was just different around her sometimes.
That's the picture painted, yeah. A very charged atmosphere.
And around this time, or soon after, this figure, Madame Coulomb, enters the picture. Someone who later caused a lot of trouble.
Right. Madame Coulomb initially connected with Blavatsky in Cairo. She was close for a while, but later she became a major source of attacks against the Theosophical Society. Makes some really serious claims against Blavatsky.
Which damaged her reputation quite a bit, I imagine.
Significantly. It just highlights how controversial Blavatsky's life was, Very intense, very personal conflict sometimes.
Definitely. Okay, let's shift gears to India. Those travels seem really important for her ideas. That book, From the Caves and Jungles of Hindustan, you mentioned, it sounds like pure adventure.
Oh, it really does.
Especially that trek to the den and the celebrated Kongalim, an ancient temple ruin near a dead city.
Yeah, she describes this arduous journey, a big group, a colonel, this Mr. Y, a Babu, Shamarao, Narayan, all armed with rifles carrying torches. You can almost feel the heat and the difficulty.
And then they just stumble upon this hidden valley with an ancient temple.
Exactly. And she notes this detail that the temple might have been built before the nearby dead city, back when non-Hindu worship wasn't allowed within the city walls. Adds another layer of mystery.
You really get a sense of discovery.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what she was really after in these remote places.
Absolutely. And it's from experiences like these and her studies that she builds this really complex system of thought, right? Which brings us to Isis Unveiled.
Yes. And that book was a direct challenge to the status quo, wasn't it? Both scientific and religious views.
Very much so. One big target was how scientists just dismissed phenomenal spiritualism entirely. Blavatsky admitted there was fraud, sure, but she argued that writing everything off was a mistake.
So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, basically.
Pretty much. And she also attacked the short view of history common in the West. She contrasted it with these incredibly vast timescales from Hindu cosmology, kalpas, yugas, manvantaras.
And billions of years, right?
Yeah.
Huge cosmic cycles.
Exactly. Cycles of creation and destruction spanning immense periods. She even mentions that story of the Egyptian priest telling Solon he knew nothing about previous floods, highlighting how ancient that knowledge supposedly was compared to Greek history.
It's like saying Western history is just one chapter in a massive library.
A very apt analogy. And she wasn't just talking about time. She also argued that the great ancient thinkers Zoroaster, Pythagoras, Plato, they believed in things like the soul's pre-existence, its inherent divine power.
Which really flew in the face of the more materialistic science emerging back then.
Completely. She was saying the real wisdom, the deep truths, were in these ancient traditions that people were dismissing as myths.
Which leads us to some of her more out there concepts, like the sevenfold nature of reality. How did that work?
Okay, so according to the secret doctrine, the universe isn't just what we see, it operates on a sevenfold principle. There are chains of worlds, 7 globes in each chain.
7 globes.
Yes, but only one globe in each chain is on our physical plane, the one we can perceive. The other 6 are on different, subtler planes of existence. Invisible companions, essentially.
Huh. Invisible worlds alongside ours.
And it doesn't stop there. This sevenfold structure is mirrored in us, in human beings. We also have 7 principles.
7 principles within us.
Yep. 3 she described as more material, 1 purely spiritual, and then these corresponding vehicles or bases for them. She called them upahis and vahanas.
Upahis and vahanas, what are those like?
You could kind of think of upadis as the material foundation or vehicle, and vahanas as the more spiritual carriers for each principle, like the hardware and software for different levels of our being, maybe.
Okay, trying to wrap my head around that. It's layered, really complex, suggesting there's much more to us in the universe than we usually perceive.
Exactly. Our senses only grasp a tiny fraction of it all, in her view.
And this connects to her ideas about forgotten civilizations and these root races. This is where it gets really expansive and maybe a bit tricky for some people.
It definitely does. She proposed this whole evolutionary scheme for humanity, but it wasn't just physical. It was spiritual, psychic, intellectual, and physical evolution through 7 stages, or root races.
7 again.
Always 7. So she described the first ones as almost ethereal, like shadows, the chayas. Then came the sweat-born and egg-born. It's quite unusual terminology.
Egg-born, okay.
Before we get to beings that reproduce sexually, which she classified as the 4th root race, the Atlanteans, and the 5th, which she called the Aryan race.
Atlanteans. So Atlantis fits in here.
It does. And importantly, this wasn't Darwinian evolution as we know it. The emphasis was just as much, if not more, on the evolution of consciousness and spirit.
So not just adapting physically, but consciousness evolving alongside or even leading the way.
Right. And these races were linked to ancient land masses that are now mostly gone. She talked about a horseshoe-shaped continent up north, connecting places like Greenland and the British Isles. And of course, Lemuria and Atlantis, submerged continents. She even suggested Lemurian remnants could reappear across oceans. It's a radically different map of Earth's past.
Completely different. And she believed these ancient civilizations, Chaldea, Egypt, Babylon, had incredibly advanced knowledge.
Yes, knowledge that might have even outstripped 19th century science in some ways, like astronomy. She quotes Wendell Phillips warning against pitying the ancients, suggesting we usually underestimate them.
So forget primitive ancestors. She saw a lost golden age of wisdom.
Pretty much. She claimed Egyptian history went back thousands of years before Moses, with loads of sacred Hermetic books containing this knowledge. It flips the whole timeline.
A total rewrite of history. Okay, let's shift to another really strange aspect. This astral light and all the phenomena. What was the astral light in her view?
She described it as this subtle universal medium, like an energy field filling all space. Think of it almost like a cosmic library or memory bank, but also an active medium.
Okay, the cosmic medium.
And disturbances in it could cause. Well, she suggested disturbances in this astral light could manifest physically or mentally, maybe influencing things like epidemics or causing other weird phenomena.
Which certainly fits with the stories about her. Levitation, objects materializing, that thing in Paris reading a sealed letter held to her forehead.
Yeah, the book Incidents is full of those accounts, though, as it admits, proving them is another matter entirely. The authenticity was always debated, even by people who knew her.
It's hard to know what to make of it all. Letters appearing in locked boxes with correct answers. I mean, how reliable were the witnesses to these things?
Well, the sources mention a mix. Some were respected figures, others may be more inclined to believe. What's interesting is that even close allies sometimes suggested mundane explanations or admitted they weren't sure. But the sheer number and variety of these stories across different times and places, it's compelling, even if you can't definitively prove it. Like that lamp she mentioned, with inconsumable oil supposedly burning for years. It's an example of the kind of hidden or occult power she was exploring.
It's definitely the part of her story that grabs you, whether you believe it or not. Sparks fascination and skepticism.
Absolutely.
Now, we can't talk about Blavatsky without touching on the people around her. We mentioned Madame Coulomb, the later detractor. Who else was important?
Well, Colonel Henry Steele Olcott is hugely significant. He co-founded the Theosophical Society with her. Our sources don't detail their relationship much, but he was crucial. The first president provided structure.
The organizer, perhaps?
You could say that. And then you have people like her brother, Leonid, skeptical but intrigued. It shows the spectrum of reactions she provoked. Devoted followers on one side, bitter enemies like Coulomb on the other.
A polarizing figure for sure.
Definitely.
So as we start to wrap up this deep dive, looking back at everything, her travels, her complex ideas, the controversies, what's one really profound takeaway from Blavatsky's worldview that you think listeners should consider?
That's a big question. I think perhaps the most powerful and enduring idea is her relentless focus on interconnectedness.
Interconnectedness.
Yeah. Between spirit and matter, the seen and the unseen, she painted a picture of a cosmos that was so much bigger, more alive, more intricate than the sort of materialistic science of her time allowed for.
The universe where consciousness mattered just as much as physical stuff.
Exactly. And her challenge to the limits of conventional thinking, both scientific and religious, her push to seek a deeper, more holistic understanding, that still resonates, doesn't it? It still makes you think.
It really does. It prompts you to question the edges of what we think we know and maybe wonder about hidden dimensions. So, just to recap, we've journeyed through Helena Blavatsky's incredible life.
Her early look at Kardec, her deep dive into esoteric traditions globally.
Her unique views on lost civilizations, root races, that sevenfold reality concept.
Her challenges to orthodoxy, the idea of astral disturbances.
And all those strange phenomena, plus the key people involved.
And like we said, this is really just scratching the surface, isn't it? It's a huge, complex, and often debated body of work.
Absolutely. It inspires so much curiosity, but also a lot of controversy, even today.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the question to leave everyone with is this. What if our reality is just one layer in a much bigger, stranger cosmic design? Could there be ancient wisdom or subtle energies that our current science just doesn't have the tools for yet?
It's definitely food for thought. We'd encourage anyone interested to check out her actual writings, look into the history, and, form their own opinions.
Definitely. Explore the sources. Make up your own mind.
Well, thanks for joining us on this exploration. Join us next time for another deep dive into the fascinating corners of knowledge.
Whispers creeping through the haze, shadows dance in twisted ways, echoes hum from worlds unseen. This is where the strange convene. Step into the unknown mind, secret silently spoke. Step into the unknown mind, secrets hidden, twist and bind, truths that linger in between. Welcome to the spectral stream. Electric sparks and haunted tones. Reality's edge becomes your home. Questions rise like fragile smoke. The uncharted realm silently spoke.